Okay, so I'm streaming again. Let's see how this works. It actually looks like it may be worse. We'll attempt kilobits per second. I just don't know why. Why is my bitrate so low right now? Well, let's just try and see what happens. Hi everybody, I'm Kevin. I'm talking to you all here on March or May 23rd, so it's the end of May, and this marks about 12 months or a full year of me doing this. I combined 2 months into one video, so this is the 11th video, so I'll do one more to make sure there's 12 and wrap the whole year up. But for right now, this is essentially means that we've gone through an entire year of the night sky, and especially when we talk tonight about what the night sky looks like here, and you'll have seen all of the constellations in the northern hemisphere, and we talked a little bit about the southern hemisphere as well, which is pretty exciting also. I'm really sorry if my bitrate is super crummy. I don't actually know how to fix that. I can maybe try looking this up. Stream bitrate in OBS Studio. Let's set it to 2500 kilobits per second, maybe. I guess. Output. Maybe that will help. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But for right now, I thought we would do today, I thought we'd talk a little about, obviously, what the night sky looks like. I'll tell you an update about something that I've been doing, which is pretty exciting, for making star maps. And then we'll talk a little bit at the end of today's episode about ways in which you can, now that hopefully you've been vaccinated and as we're starting to re-enter kind of a more normal version of society, albeit a little bit safe still, how you can maybe interact with other community groups, both online and in person, to try and extend your love of astronomy to other people, which is fun. There's lots of ways in which you can be an amateur astronomer. You know, last time we talked about buying a telescope, and maybe you want to be with other people who, you know, like astronomy, talk about astronomy, look through their larger telescopes and all that. And I'll talk about that a little bit myself. And again, if things are really rough, let me know. I don't understand why the bitrate is going. I'm dropping a lot of frames, which is not my favorite. So hopefully, it looks fine or sounds fine. I've got not a lot of responses now. Although I'm getting a YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming thing, so I don't really know what that means. I don't know how to fix it. My internet is fine. OBS is fine. When you start a live stream like this, it's a little bit tough to stop it and restart it again. Now the stream is healthy. So hey, we'll just take it. So anyway, as always, we're here in Stellarium and we're looking around. I want to show off that just like last year, when we got to when we got to winter, we looked at this, but now that it's summer, notice that the sun essentially, as it sets north of west, right? So west is here, northwest is over here, right? So in the winter, the sun sets over here. And so as we're getting towards the summer, you're seeing that the sun is setting farther and farther north every night until we get to the summer solstice, in which case the sun will have set the farthest north it's going to, and you get the longest day, right? And so if we kind of zoom out, this is something you can't do, we'll put the south down here. This means that the sun has a longer track in the sky than if it's way down here, right? So this is the south down here, and you'd see the track of the sky, which we call the ecliptic. This is the track of the sky right now, and then down here would be in the winter. So you get longer days. So let's zoom out of that crazy 2000s era music video fisheye lens there. And so the sun is going to set over here in the northwest. And as it sets, we'll get our stars again. And we'll stop right here. First off, we're still able to see Mars right after sunset. Let me go turn off some of our some of the settings. Sky and viewing options. I want to turn off some of the labels. Don't like the labels. Don't like the labels. There. But first off, as we've been talking in the west, we've got Mars is still visible here. It is visible in the constellation of Gemini, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But Mars is still visible right after sunset, so I would really urge you to go out and try and look and see if you can see Mars. It's pretty wonderful as the summer comes on, it'll be less and less obvious to see because it will be lower and lower on the horizon right at sunset. But then we're going to start and look around. The way we're going to look around is first, we're not going to even bring up the star map. Let's see what we can do without the star map. First, we know that the sun is set over here in the west. I do this every time. That means we turn 90 degrees to the right and we've got north, and we can look up and see, can we find the Big Dipper, right? And remember, the Big Dipper is pretty bright. So first we look, and it's not going to be too far away from the North Star. Here you can see where the North Star is because you can see north, but I can see the Big Dipper now. Can you all see the Big Dipper? Here, I'll let you play this game here while I turn off these things. Can you see the Big Dipper? All right, so see if you can see the Big Dipper. If you're with someone watching or you just trace it on your screen right now, pretty obvious. This is your almost final exam. Maybe next time I'll actually have a final exam. I won't have a final exam. So correct, it is right here. This is the bucket, and here's the handle right there. I say correct because hopefully someone didn't trace it out down here, but it's pretty obvious. And the Big Dipper, right now, great time to go look at it. Great time, because it's not lower on the horizon. Right after sunset, it's really high in the sky, right up here. Right? And it's a great way to start walking through the sky. And so remember, we can use these two stars here in the bucket to point down toward the North Star, which you could find because it was, on the north here. If you're farther in the north, if you live in Canada, this will be a little higher. If you're way lower south, if you live in Mexico, farther south to Central and South America, this will be lower down because the height of this above the horizon is related to the your latitude. In fact, it is, if you were to measure this, the angle between the horizon and this star, you would now know the latitude that you're living at. And so essentially, if you want to know the latitude that I'm doing this, which is Earth here in Tucson, that would be just, you'd got to try to get like a spyglass or something and mark the angle between here and here. You can see that this is also part of the Little Dipper, which curves up this way, and you have the bucket of the Little Dipper and the guardians of the pole here. Kochab and Mizar. Kochab and Furcad. Kochab and Furcad. Right there. Because Alcor and Mizar are up here. Excuse me. Although there's apparently an international, there's like a little satellite there, but this is Alcor and Mizar up there. So Kochab and Furcad. Star names are not my favorite, not my main thing. So we can now use the Big Dipper as our way of walking through to see some more important things. We can remember arc along the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper, arc to this star here, which is called Arcturus, right there. And we can speed on to Spica, which is right over here. And you can see that it makes this little arc. You go, and it's right next to the moon right now. And the moon, if you've not been going out in the last little bit, the moon is actually, you know, getting pretty big. I think that it's waxing right now, and I think that it is like, so it's getting closer and closer and closer to, oh yeah, so waxing gibbous down here. So it's getting closer to being a full moon. It should be there in, you know, a couple days, getting to a full moon, which is pretty nice. And it helps you find both Arcturus here and Spica. And Arcturus is part of the constellation of Bootes, which is the shepherd. And where we can find the shepherd, because we're going to look for that, essentially that ice cream cone, which comes down here. The cone is down here, and here's the ice cream on top of the ice cream cone. And then here is Spica, which is part of Virgo, this woman lying down. It's just a little harder to see. If I turn on my constellation lines, you can see that this is essentially her holding, but her body comes up this way. And so if I turn the constellation line, you can see that, you know, that the sun is lying on one of her legs right now. She's got a very cool sun-shaped tattoo. Oh man, my bitrate is really suffering. I am really not a fan of the fact that I'm going to lose this whole recording if I don't watch out, because I'm trying to record this. I should also have started recording this just so I could upload this separately. But I do not know why this is happening in this way. So hopefully it doesn't, you know, I haven't heard anything, but I have very quiet viewers. My viewers tend to not post very often in my chat. So I don't know if it's buffering as much for them and if it's watchable at all. But these are some of the other thing we can do is I like to use these two stars in the bucket of the Dipper to point our way over this direction, because if we look over in this direction, we can see the constellation of Leo the Lion. Gosh, I'm having a hard time actually getting to Leo the Lion right now. I have to look over this way and curve up here. But Leo the Lion, here's the head of Leo the Lion. The back comes back this way, the back tail. This star here is called Regulus. It's the brightest star in Leo the Lion, and you can mostly see it because it's backwards question mark is going to be what you're going to be looking for. But the way that I find that is I like essentially just trace backwards. You know, this direction traces towards the North Star, but this direction in the other direction goes right to the center of Leo the Lion. And so then you look for this backwards question mark. And so if you turn on my drawing there, you can see that it looks in this drawing like a Hoover. If I go and change my sky and viewing options window, actually with my star lore, and go down to the HA Ray one, you can see it actually looks like a lion there. So I want to show something pretty cool right now. Turn this off, kind of zoom back out. This is something that I've been working on for the last couple weeks, off and on in my spare time. I, years and years ago, wrote a really cool piece of software that would create bespoke star maps, because I think that sky maps are pretty, but oftentimes you get them and there's just a lot of information, or they're not as beautiful. And I wanted to make a sky map that you could use, that I could print out and bring with me when I do my sky shows, that also could be pretty enough that if you wanted to put it on the wall, you could do that. And so I rewrote my software in Python recently, and here's this is this month's sky map. If I turn it on right here, this is what it looks like. And so this is a sky map. It's very different. It's very similar to any sky map you might get, except I try to limit the amount of information that's on there, so it's not an overwhelming amount of information. There's not all kinds of really faint objects you can see. It's mostly just something that, like, when you watch this or when you look at this, it gives you just enough information to kind of try and find some of the bright things in the sky, as any star map should do, but also in a way that, like, I think is very pretty. And I think it goes between the fact that there are many of these where you can you know, you buy these online and like have them printed out for the day you're born. And I'm planning on doing things like that, where people can send me, you know, information about when they want it and what location, and I can make nice prints of them myself. But, you know, between those kinds of very art prints ones and ones that are pretty useful and helpful for actually going out, you know, and I'll show you where you can download those in a second. But for right now, let's see if we can use this really quickly. So again, so if I bring up the star map here, again, using a star map, north, south, east, and west. This version right now, because we're looking at it, holding it this way, you'd want to look towards the south and see if we can see these things in the south. So let's see if we can see Hydra, Crater, and Corvus, which we've talked about in the past. So that means we're going to be looking south or southwest here. So if we turn this back off really quickly and turn ourselves, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. And turn ourselves, whoa, I'm dragging the wrong thing. This is the thing I should be dragging. South to southwest, we're looking over here. We're seeing if we can see. So if I look south-ish, and it turns out that actually, so if we go back to the star map and turn the star map back on, generally towards the south we should see Corvus, and then right next to Corvus should be Crater. Corvus is pretty bright. Let's see if we can see Corvus first. It'll be like a little bit west of south. And so if we turn the sky map off and come back here, whoops, We've got south here, a little bit west is south, you know. And again, define south if you don't have these red glowing like letters on the ground. Thanks, Kevin. We look north, and then we do an entire 180-degree turn, and we've got it here. And sure enough, we look here. We're looking for the bright stars. In fact, there it is. And I think that my sky map is right about this time here. So there's, in fact, south of west. So my sky map is for something like, you know, 9 o'clock at night, essentially. And next to it should be the cup. So if I kind of zoom in here, you can see that the cup is a little harder to see, but it curves up here and comes down. This is the cup. And then Hydra is the snake that comes here. So this must be Alphard on our sky map. If I bring my sky map back up, you can see that there's one pretty bright star, which is Alphard, which is off from Corvus and Crater. And Alphard, as you can read over here, it means the solitary one, because there's not a lot of very bright stars in this part of the sky. So the one that you can see, and if we zoom out, the one bright star that we can see, you know, in this like not bright, that must be Alphard. And sure enough, that's Raduga 7. I really hate that there's so many giant boxes for space stations. There's Alphard, which is a double star. If we zoom in really far, we can maybe see that it's a double star. It might be too close to actually see that it's a double star. Yep, too close to be seen as a double star right now. Must be really, really far away. Although the distance to this is 180 light years, so yes. So that's essentially, oh gosh, Kevin, I had the sky map on right there. Yeah, but so remember, this is Alphard here. Now, you know, if we keep going to the right, towards the west, you can see Mars setting right here, and you're like, what's this star right here? Well, it's right over the west. Let's see if we can figure out which one it is. Turn back the sky map on. We know Mars is in it. It's right over the west. I think it must be this one right here, right on the horizon, right above the west, which says Procyon. And Procyon, I guess I should point out here, Procyon right here. So we're looking west. There's where Mars is, the two stars, Castor and Pollux, and then this one right here, Procyon. So let's go and see. Are we right? Procyon, which means before the dog. We've talked about that. And we go and click on it. And sure enough, Procyon. Look at us! This is the way in which you can go and say, what's that bright star? What's that bright star? Well, a star map will help you figure out what that bright star is. That's the whole point of it. And so let's see. Can we do it again? Can we figure out what this guy is, this star here in the northwest? So we're going to be looking just above the northwest. We've got, you know, a couple stars here, which we figured out are Castor and Pollux. And we've got this star right here in the northwest. So let's turn the sky map back on. Travel upward a little bit. Now it looks like maybe it might be here. It might be Capella in the Charioteer, Auriga. So let's see. Let's check. So if we click on it, and in fact it is Capella in Auriga. Man, we are doing great. And if we keep going, we can let's see if we can find something else. Like, you know, we've got southeast here. Ooh, what's this one? What's this one right down here in the southeast? All right. So back on the sky map, we're looking southeast, which is, you know, between here and here. We've got a bright star. Might be Antares right here in the Scorpion constellation. Hopefully we can see the claws of the Scorpion coming up. And sure enough, this is in fact Antares, rival of Mars. Anti-Aries, rival of Mars. And the Scorpion's claws come up this way and come over this way. Which, if you remember from when we did this, when we started and over the summer last year, it actually was pretty cool because you could see, like we could see this as a really great summer constellation. So if we were to go a couple hours in the future, you'd see that it rises and you get this really beautiful. So this is right around midnight, 11:30. You can see this really beautiful. And this will be something way easier to see as we get in the summer. One of my favorite things in the summer is watching Scorpius right here and all the other summer constellations like Sagittarius you got right here. But we aren't there yet. We're in late spring. So we come back down here. Boom. So we're right here about 8. Let's go to 9 o'clock. Boom. 9 o'clock. Okay. Let's look right above us. Let's see if we can figure out what's right above us. Well, we've already determined what this is right here. I think we have, right? Have we determined what's right above us? Because we have this. Oh yeah, we determined what this is because it's Arcturus, because we arced to Arcturus and we sped on here to Spica over here. So we use that to follow her there. But let's look right around. I don't know. What do we got in the northeast? What's this right here? What's this bright one in the northeast, between northeast and east? Well, oh gosh, I still have the sky map on. But so I'm saying, which one is this one down here? Right, so we've got the sky map, northeast to east. So north, east to east, we've got something there. It could be Deneb, and then maybe there's one over the east that's also pretty bright, which is not listed on here because it's too close to the sky. But it's Deneb's in Cygnus, it could be that. I need to remember to turn my sky map off when I'm talking. And I think if we click on it, we find that, it's another satellite. Oh, it's Vega. Oh, because Deneb is up farther, isn't it? Deneb is over, where is Deneb? Oh, it's because we haven't risen far enough, have we? There's Deneb. Oh, it's Altair. This is Deneb. So we must not have been far enough along in the sky map. If if I turn the sky map on, let's just double check. Yeah, it should be a little higher. Okay, so it must be a little later than I thought. Yeah, so that means I probably can't see. Oh, you know what it is? It's that I'm. There we go. It's that there's trees in the way, and then also, it's that I'm in a different latitude on the sky map than I am here. But anyway, here's Deneb, and we've got the summer triangle rising, which you can see on the sky map. So here's the summer triangle rising, and then the sky map, it's Deneb to Vega and down to Altair right here, which is the one that I haven't labeled on the sky map, right? So pretty cool. This is what my goal with this whole series has been. It's something where it familiarizes you with how to use a sky map and also teaches you about some of the patterns that you're seeing. And we'll talk about this last time as we do a wrap up in next month's episode. But essentially my goal is I want you to be able to go outside and go, all right, how can I figure out what I'm looking at? And to also know in the back of your head, well, what month is it? What are the things that I can see? And the main cycle is, in the summer, you're going to be looking for summer triangle. You're going to be looking for Scorpius. You're going to be looking for, if we turn on the star map, you're going to see some of these, like things. Ophiuchus down here, Sagittarius. In the spring, we've got Leo, Virgo, Bootes, the Shepherd, right? These are kind of your classic ones, Corvus and Crater. In the winter, in the fall, you get the least exciting part of the night sky is the fall, as you get kind of a transition between the winter, which you have these great ones. Orion, you've got Canis Major and Canis Minor, Gemini, all these great ones that you're still seeing over here on the horizon. You get Taurus the Bull, and generally you're gonna know what time of year it is. Want to know what time of year it is to know these things, to know what's up. And then on top of that, it's how can you trace your way through them, right? And so you've got your arc to Arcturus here. If I turn this back on, arc to Arcturus here, speed on to Spica, right? You also know that you can follow the Big Dipper backwards to find Leo, which will help you find Regulus. Other ways to help is that if we keep going past, this way to Polaris and past, we get towards Cassiopeia, and she's next to her husband Cepheus, right? We've got these, which is pretty bright triangle that's going to go overhead, but also another way, if you're in the really dark, this is a really good way to find the Milky Way, which you can see I've outlined in gray here. The Milky Way, these birds fly along the Milky Way, the eagle and the swan. And so let's see if we can see that. It's a little hard because we're streaming right now. I'm still stunned that my streaming software is working so poorly. But if I zoom out a little bit, and let's turn the brightness down. Let's actually turn my sky viewing options, my sky, and what I want is I want to take my. How do I turn up my Milky Way light pollution? Actually, I know. Let's turn off the atmosphere. This is bad for us, but if we turn the atmosphere off, you can see the Milky Way curving along this way. And if I turn the north up like this, you can see that the Milky Way curves up and around like this. This is one of the stars in, this is Deneb, and there's Altair, just like in the sky map. So if I turn the sky map back on, you can see that the stars, the moon is there, but Deneb, Altair, and the Milky Way through them, just like we've got right there. So this is why and the Milky Way, you're not gonna be able to see it all year round. It's something you can see sometimes of the year, but not all times of the year. Just make sure that there we go. But reading a sky map, learning the stars, learning how to walk your way through, and also knowing the stars doesn't mean that you're gonna know every name of every star. Some people do, I don't. It means mostly that you're gonna be able to say, can I find these constellations, turn the atmosphere back on. Can I find the constellations based on, if I'm looking somewhere, can I see what that might be, right? And generally what that is it involves starting with, what direction am I looking? And based on that direction, if I'm looking west, what are these stars down here? If I'm looking west, west, if I turn this on, we've already, actually west, we've determined, yeah, if I'm looking west, I want to know these stars, I can go, oh wait, this is the backwards question mark here. So this must be Leo, this must be Regulus right here, and then tracing that out. And it all starts from, well, what else is pointing at it? Well, we've got the Big Dipper pointing at it, in the other direction, right? Oh, we look down, we see Corvus. The cup is really faint. It's not super easy to see. We turn the lines on here, you can see it's on the back. This is a different way of drawing the crow, or kind of looks more like a crow. These are the things that you're going to want to be looking at, right? Over time, I'm very confused as to why. It must be that I'm just at a different. Let's do that. Let's go to a different location where I'm a little bit like. Let's go to Lebanon, Kansas, which is what I used. Kansas. I guess Kansas City. Fine. It's at the same time. If I make this go back down like that, is this something where I can see in the west? Is that what's actually going on? I might totally swung around. Ah, yes. This is Gemini. Okay. And so then if I come over here to the east, do I actually see... I do. Ah, great. This is a good... Okay. So it was entirely, as I said, I made a prediction that I didn't know was right. It's because I was at a different latitude. When you're at a farther north latitude, you can see these stars a little bit differently than if you're not. Like if I go back to Tucson right now, at the same exact, well, you know, if I go back to Tucson, where I've been normally doing this, these things are a little bit lower on the horizon because of how we've moved down south, and they've essentially rotated with them that way. All right. So with that in mind, let's say you are becoming quite the backyard astronomer. You've watched all these videos. You've gone out every time I've told you to go outside and looked at the stars. I tell people to do it. They say they're going to do it. No one's actually pointed out that they've done it. I really put it in the comments. Write in the comments. Tell me your experiences. I'd like to know. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just talking into the void. You've gone outside. And you're thinking, what's next? What's next? Well, first off, I'm going to be making sky maps for you every month from now on, and they're going to be found on the website, which is linked in the chat description, or in the video description. But we can go there by just going to my name, kevinhainline.com. And if we turn the internet on, you can go to kevinhainline.com. It looks like this. You can also go to thestarsconnectus.com, and you'll get there, and you'll see a lot of stuff, including like some podcasts I've been on, the talks that I give. If you want to hire me to give talks and stuff, there's, you know, fancy pictures of me and stuff. But over here where it says sky maps, you can click on this and it'll have the month sky map here. You can click on this month sky map, and in the future I'll have down here a link or a little shop where you can buy a sky map for where you live, you know, maybe emblazoned with whatever text you want. That will be something where I can make it in different colors and all sorts of stuff and print it out and send it to you, which would be pretty nice. Something if you want like a birthday gift or a, you know, Christmas present for someone, or a romantic gift to be like, hey, this was when we first met. This is what the stars look like. I can make a prettier version than other ones, and I'll do it for cheaper than other websites. And I think they're prettier than other ones anyway. They don't have all the crazy grids and stuff, and I'll, you know. But if you click on it, you can get the sky map that I was just showing you. And let me show you what's cool about the sky map that I was just showing you. If I bring that up, the back side of this, if you were to print it out, the back side of this looks like this. And what's cool about this is it's got information on how to use the sky map. That's what's over here where it says how to use the sky map, in case you've forgotten how to use a sky map. A guided tour of the sky based on what you can see. Pretty cool. And then information about the bright stars you can see, and in this case Mars, because it's visible right on the horizon. And the Hercules cluster, something if you want like a challenging object to go look at through binoculars or a small telescope, right? And this is all printable. Then you just cut out along the dotted line on one side, and you've got yourself a really cool one. If you print it on cardstock, it comes out really nice. I've got quite a few of these. These are what I print out when I go give sky talks to places. I make one up. But now what's really cool for me is that I have a Python script that does this all automatically. It plots the stars, connects the dots with all the stars, puts the labels on there and makes sure the labels aren't, you know, covering a bunch of other stuff. It puts the labels of the stars on there, draws the ecliptic, draws the Milky Way, which was really a challenge, especially because of the way that plotting software works, where sometimes if there was something where the next point was over here, would draw a Milky Way line that would stretch across the whole thing. So I had to fix that this morning. But all I have to do to fix this is run it and then just go and tweak some of the exact positions of these labels when they're overlapping things. But you can go right now and download this. You can go to kevinhainline.com and, you know, go to click Sky Map up in the corner here, you know, and this also allows you to get in contact with me, and, you know, and then if you want to, you can click on Video Audio and Podcasts. You can watch the Ask an Astronomer series. You can watch this series you're currently watching. You can watch a couple of the videos in my Stars Connect Us series. You can listen to me on a couple of podcasts. I really like this Curious Humans one. This is pretty fun with Michael Antonia. I enjoy talking with Cara Santamaria as well. And if you want me on a podcast, let me know. Put in the chat, like, you know, or send me a message. You click up here on the contact, and you can fill out a form, and I'd love to be on your podcast. I really like talking about space. I like talking about JWST, all this stuff. But let's say you say, all right, well, that's the first thing. I've gone and downloaded my star maps, and I'm watching my sky maps and, you know, looking at the stars. But I'd love to, like, I don't know, go look through a telescope. I don't have the money to buy a telescope. Or I'd love to look at astronomy data, you know, or I'd love to help out with astronomy research. And I've talked about this on other streams, but one of the really cool ways you can already interact with stuff is with the Zooniverse set of projects. You can interact with astronomy researchers with the Zooniverse set of projects. So let's turn on, do this. So this is Galaxy Zoo, which is the first of the Zooniverse projects. And Galaxy Zoo, along with, you know, if we click on Zooniverse here, Zooniverse is people-powered research, it says. And essentially it's various science projects that you can do as a person on your own time, right? And, you know, then you can help be part of the Zooniverse crew and be part of like actual published, you know, papers and stuff. One of those things that I really like, if we look at projects here, you know, we can look at projects and maybe we click over, let's see if we can find astronomy space, right? So here's projects, active projects in space. We've got Tag Along with Adler, Dark Energy Explorers, Citizen Assassin, A14 Mars, Disk Detective, Aurora Zoo, Radio Galaxy Zoo, LOFAR. All these are projects that are currently going, including Galaxy Zoo. Supernova Hunters, Gravity Spy. Let's click on Radio Galaxy Zoo, LOFAR. Help astronomers locate and identify supermassive black holes and star-forming galaxies. Pretty cool. If we click Learn More, they're looking for supermassive black holes, which is what I do, but they're looking for ones that have these big radio jets, which is pretty cool. And what you can do versus star-forming galaxies is essentially finding where the AGN might be inside of this radio thing. And they're a dedicated training workflow and step-by-step tutorial video. All you have to do is sign up for Galaxy Zoo, sign in, sign up, register right up here. You can register for an account. And then, if you do a tutorial here, you know, it'll say like, all right, we have our component selector. Select all the dashed ellipses, right? So if we do this and we make this bigger, right, we can, what's this? Clicking inside the ellipse, you don't have to click inside the solid ellipse. Select that you leave along the same structure as the solid ellipse. Select all the dashed ellipses as the solid ellipse. Same structure. So this one and this one, I think. So I think if we do this and this and this, component selector, 3 components. Yes. If I click next, well done. This is part of the source. 2 matches. You don't have to click on the solid ellipse, 1 match. Oh, okay. And you missed the source component, 1 match. Oh, I missed that one as well. All right. So I missed some things in this, but look at how easy it is, right? I click this. I don't click this one. I can. Like, let's actually. Oh, there's all sorts of stuff here. You can see all the images they've got. Right. But this essentially is a way for you to do this sort of thing, and you're essentially helping. So if I go back and component selector, can I not undo components? Ah, there we go. Ah, you have to wait for the hand. Okay, so if I do this and this, these are all 3. I click next. Well done. You're part of the source. I got all 3, right? Click next. Okay. When you're done, then it says, does it look like a natural source? And so you're essentially learning about astronomy, helping out, reading what the tutorial says, and actually helping with these sorts of things, which is pretty cool, right? So these are classification one. Let's see what else we got. Maybe like Mars, right? What's this Mars one? Teaching Mars rover how to classify Martian terrain. Okay, so some of these kind of feel like, you know how when you do a CAPTCHA and you have to like identify for Google like what a street sign is or a car so you can log into a website. Some of them are kind of like that, but you can do this, you know, learn more about this one, you know, seeing what the results are in terms of identifying types of rocks, you know, and where the rocks are, you know, big rock, bedrock, soil. Pretty cool, right? And so you can help out with Martian visual learning, right? And there's an intermediate color masked one here. Look at this. Oh, wow. You can help make future Mars rovers safer by labeling Curiosity images. You'll see a series of images the Curiosity rover took on Mars and draw polygons to label terrain types, right? So this is like a fun thing to like in the side say, okay, well, this is sand. Is it consolidated soil? Is it bedrocks? Is it big rocks? And here it looks like it's, you know, I think that it probably, you draw polygons around different, oh gosh, this is complicated. But, you know, you could draw around here and say like, oh, you know what? I think that maybe this one right here is like consolidated soil. And up here, we've got some pretty big rocks that are bedrock, I think. Let's click done. And then this is what you're doing. You're just doing this sort of thing. You sign in, you help out. Pretty cool. This is called citizen science. If you don't like astronomy, I mean, I don't know why you're doing this, but if you're not as big a fan of astronomy, they've got climate ones, they've got history ones where you can go through and learn about, you know, like the Beyond Borders, transcribing historical mainland documents, right? These are just ways in which you can help out with science, because sometimes, you know, when you're a scientist and you really wish you could classify things, you could write a computer program till the cows come home, and it won't do as good a job as a human does looking at these sorts of things, right? Tag along with Adler, help the Adler Planetarium tag our collections and expand, right? They've got a cool collection, and you can essentially tag along. The big one that I first that started this whole thing, if we click space, is the Galaxy Zoo. And Galaxy Zoo was a way of classifying space from from the Sloan Digital Sky Survey. So I'll talk about that in a second. But you can essentially go through and classify disks and, like, you know, more diffuse disks as well here. And so essentially, and there's a new set of images from DECALS, the Dark Energy Camera Legacy Survey, and it's a 10 times more sensitive. As you can see here are like how these images get better and better and better, like from Sloan here. And then as they show the DECALS images, look at how much more information you learn from there. Pretty cool. So let's say you're doing that, you want to learn more. What are some ways in which you could learn more about, you know, how can you get actual astronomy data? Where can you get that? One way I like to go is the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, SDSS. SDSS took an image of, like, you know, chord of the sky, took images of the chord of the sky, and like we look at data release 16, go to data access here. We click on that. Got a complicated website here, but, you know, we could say, all right, let's go to the DR16 Science Archive server here. Aha. There's lots of, this is a bad website that like goes around. Let's go to the Sky Survey. That's what you should want. So click on the DR16 Sky Survey here. And it gives you something like this. All the SDSS Sky servers look like this. And you've got education stuff, links, helps. So you can, you know, Galaxy Zoo and the Zooniverse are linked here, right? Because it's part of it. Instructor guides, cause, lesson plans. These are ways in which you can use Sloan for teaching. But if you want to just, like, I don't know, explore, look at images or whatever, like, let's click explore. Boom, they just brought us an object, right? And so that's very strange that it just, when I clicked explore, it just brought this one random object here. This is a whole bunch of information that's pretty complicated, but this is a galaxy that Sloan identified and took pictures of, and you can see the pictures here. If you click on the pictures, you can see, you know, the picture of the galaxy. It's actually a couple galaxies crashing into each other, which is what you can see, you know, here, right? The position of the galaxy is listed up here in decimal form, and in sexagesimal form is its right ascension and its declination, and it's also its position in galactic coordinates, which I don't want to get into. But this is something where you could use this, and I've had to use this for making my sky map program. This is the way that you would use this to figure out where the object was in the sky if you were pointing a telescope. It's how bright it is in different filters. It tells you, down here is if you put and look at its light through a prism, what the light through a prism, which we call a spectra, looks like. Also, there's other information from other observations. There's data cubes and stuff, but for right now, these are the sorts of things you can do. You can also go back to data release, or if we go back, we can look at navigate. It's just going to bring us an image of those same galaxies. Image list, maybe image list. No, it's just really complicated. I want to find like a version where it's like allowing you to cross ID. No, this is the more complicated version. Finding chart. No, that's going to help you find things. Search. Let's just click on search, and let's click on. Can we get a name? Oh man. These are very helpful for me, but it's not super helpful for you all. All these things are allowing you to help, you know, famous places. There we go. This is what I want. Famous places. Boom. So I'll put this link here. But this allows you here to go and say, all right, let's look at some famous galaxies or for some weird artifacts or famous interactive galaxies. Let's look at some famous galaxies. Click on this. Boom. This is NGC 450, NGC 5792. So look at this. Without having a telescope, you're able to go and look at famous galaxies, right? And if you're like on Amazon and you find on Wikipedia and you find a galaxy that is, you know, that like is pretty important, famous, you can go and find its right ascension and declination, and then if you go back to the radial search, you could put that in here. So like NGC 450, one of the things that NGC 450 has is right here, the right ascension declination. It has 0, 0, 30. So if I copy that and put this over here. And we'll get to this in a second. And I copy this one. Put this right here. Oh. And we click submit a request, it's going to break because they have to be numerical. So you see all these like H, and S. Just delete that. Don't need it. And also this negative needs to be the right type of negative, not the printed negative like that. Delete the. So that I've just taken all the little units out. It can figure out where it is. And it gives you this, which is all the objects close to where you are. But notice that the smaller the number, the brighter it is. These are all pretty big numbers here. This one's pretty bright. So if I click on this, the top one, the closest to the center of what I get, it's something bright. And if I zoom out, it is in fact NGC 450. There it is. And we can click on this and see that this is another image of it with the little galaxy over there. But sure enough, this is the same thing. This is it done. A color rendering here through, I think, a Hubble image, probably. Yeah, Hubble with C3, right? But like, and then there it is in Sloan. So look at that. That's one way you can get involved. You can go look at this. But another thing you can do that I think is pretty important is that you can go and look at, go and attend. So this is all internet stuff. There's lots of internet stuff. You can also, and maybe, make your homepage the astronomy picture of the day, which shows you a new astronomy picture every day, right? Oh, here's a cool one, right? We're looking at this and you can see, can you find which stars are which, right? And the Milky Way's here. So you know that you've got, essentially, like, it turns out it's the Milky Way in May. So we've got Deneb, we've got the two, the eagle and the swan swimming across it. Sagittarius down here, and you can see there's Sagittarius down there, which is the teapot. If I, move off, you can barely see it. But astronomy picture of the day, pretty cool. If we look at the archive, you can see that they've been going for years and 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 years. This is all the way back 2015, and you can keep going back earlier than that, because it just goes to January 1st, 2015. And then if you want to go all existing current date at the full archive, and the full archive goes all the way back, you can keep going all the way back to June 16, 1995. So they've been really doing it for quite a while. You should use it. It's a wonderful back page. Page. The images are gorgeous. If we go back a day, you can see here Markarian's chain, this chain of galaxies, very pretty, really cool stuff. These are the ways to get involved in astronomy. When you can watch my YouTube videos. You can, if you want to really get involved, well, look up planetarium in your town. Are there planetaria? That's your classic one. If you live in Chicago, there's the Adler Planetarium. If you live in New York, the Hayden Planetarium. If you live in Los Angeles, Griffith Observatory. Let's say you live in Richmond, Virginia. Click on Richmond, Virginia Planetarium, and I get nothing. Do I not get any planetarium? Oh, Richmond, Virginia Planetarium. The Science Museum of Virginia has a planetarium show right there. Boom. The Dome. The Science Museum of Virginia has the Dome. Explore the Cosmos, 76 feet, the largest screen in Virginia. That's exactly what you want to go see right there. The Dome. Boom. So these are the sorts of things. Generally there's a planetarium within, some amount of driving from where you live, unless you live really out in the middle of nowhere. That's fine. You can live out in the middle of nowhere. You have better stars then. But if you don't have access to those, if you live in a city, planetariums are a great way. But let's say another thing. What if you really want to hook up with other, interact with other astronomy people who like astronomy? Well, there's lots and lots of amateur astronomy societies, which are really a wonderful way of getting out and seeing the night sky, especially because they host big night sky parties and night sky shows and stuff where they go out with their telescope on a clear, dark night, and they essentially just have a whole evening of walking up, looking at through telescopes, talking about astronomy. They'll have people with their green lasers doing fun stuff. So let's say you live in Richmond, Virginia. I'm just picking on Richmond, Virginia because I think I'm traveling there in a couple of months. Amateur astronomy. Let's see. The Richmond Astronomical Society in Richmond, Virginia, goastronomy.com, has a Richmond Astronomical Society, and it's richastro.org. And if I click on this, hopefully it works. Boom. Next monthly meeting will be held online Tuesday, June 8th. This link, you can join this and find out, Staunton River State Park. This is the upcoming event. The camping and a dark sky park and all this stuff, like a monthly meeting, bring your binoculars, a telescope event to Leaks Mill Park. Look at this. In Richmond, Virginia, the town that I just picked, doing these sky parties. It's funny to see these during the day because you're like, what are they actually looking at during the day? What are they looking at? The sun? There's not a lot of, I guess I could see maybe filters on this, but it's not a good thing. But there's also on websites like this, they've got telescope buying guy, how you can schedule your sky thing. Like, there are amateur astronomy programs all over the country. Here where I live, there are at least 3 different amateur astronomy programs in both Oro Valley and in Tucson and in like the Green Valley South, and I've spoken to all 3 of them. They often have speakers from nearby colleges coming to talk, or grad students or researchers. It's really cool. Griffith Observatory, Hayden Observatory, Adler Observatory, they all have star parties that are really big where they get a lot of people coming out as well. And these are things that if you've never done this, go do this. It's awesome to do. It's really fun to go out and look at telescopes with a group of people who have the time and money and nerd, attitude and nerd desire to build and maintain a pretty large telescope. And I really think that this is a great way of doing something that's actually pretty cheap, right? So if you've not looked up, go right now while I'm talking, keep me on in the background, but look up where you live and say, amateur astronomy or night sky party or whatever. Let's think of another place. Eugene, Oregon. Amateur astronomy. Misspelled amateur, that's fine. It's EUR, Eugene Astronomical Society, eugeneastro.org. And if I click on this, they've got a virtual meeting on Thursday, April 15th, 2021. I went to the full events calendar. They have a link to the clear dark sky. Notice they have public star parties. These are their next star party. Right now, there's no upcoming events because unfortunately, but it says, here's what you do when you don't. Watch out for cell phones. They're really bright. Come say hi. Don't be shy. Look at that. Look, they're all over the country and they are really wonderful. Also pretty nerdy, I have to say. A lot of nerds, but pretty wonderful people overall. Like some astronomy groups are really big, some are pretty small. Sometimes their meetings are really tiny and they mostly just talking about paying dues or getting t-shirts. But generally, you can go and find them and look at their calendar and see if they're doing something that's fun. And a cheap date, going to a star party, going out, especially using some of the knowledge, printing out the sky map that I've made for you. I say that because it's got an advertisement for a website. But I also say that because I think it's pretty useful and you now learn how to use star maps. Printing that out, bringing that there, bringing a red sky a headlamp, which is another good astronomy thing, and just looking through telescopes, asking about, bring some binoculars, buy some binoculars and bring some binoculars, bring a nice comfortable chair you can sit in where you can look out. They're generally at places that are pretty dark, pretty remote. These are the sorts of things that I really think you should be going to, besides planetarium shows. Also, if you live in a town that has a university, if you live in a university town, look and see if they have an astronomy department, right? So let's go back to Eugene, Oregon. I think that's Oregon State, or University of Oregon. Just picking on Eugene, right? I think Eugene, or University of Oregon. Oh no, University of Oregon is in. Is it in the University of Oregon? Yes, it's in Eugene. So University of Oregon. So let's say you live in Eugene. You've been part of their amateur astronomy. You go to the University of Oregon Astronomy. Click on the University of Oregon Astronomy, and I look on activities. They don't have an astronomy department. They have a physics department, but they've got a colloquium series. Brian Nord from Fermilab, Stephanie Majewski and Richard Taylor is hosting, and it's Thursday, May 20th, which is last week. Can you imagine the future of AI augmented science experiments? Can we trust machines with discovering? Pretty cool talk by Brian Nord. I'm disappointed that I couldn't tell you about it beforehand, right? But if you click on the view colloquium schedule, because that's the word you're kind of going to look for, you can see future and past colloquia, and you could probably click on this and see a video, I bet. This is the Zoom Online link. And all these were online. You could go and join this and listen to actual research talks, right? Stewart Observatory, which I'm a part of, has a colloquium series. The thing is that it's now summer, and summer is where they mostly taper off because astronomers are doing research and taking breaks and going on vacation and stuff. But these are ways in which you can go to, especially in the fall when we're not doing it all on Zoom, you can go to real astronomy lectures. They're free, open to the public. There'll be snacks either before or afterwards. And it might be a little bit over your head at some points. I say that because it's over my head a lot of the times. But there are ways in which you can get involved with astronomy and the astronomy community. And I want you to do this more than ever because we just went through this global pandemic. And as we get vaccinated, as things become safer, as we start doing things more and more in person, I hope that people start engaging with their community more, because I think this is one of the great things about being human that we're losing is with a lot of things going online and now with the pandemic, we don't really think about ourselves as living as part of a community. But I want you to be going outside, not just so that you look at the stars, but also when you go outside at night, you remember, oh, there are people who live around me. I have neighbors. I live in a place where I can walk. I live down the street from a park. I like going to that park to do my stargazing because it's a little bit far away from some of the street lights. I can get in larger fields where there's not trees looking up. And when I'm at the park, I see other people who use the same park. It reminds me of how important it is to have public spaces for these sorts of things, right? Earlier this spring, I helped the Voyageurs National Park with their Dark Sky Night celebration and gave a big keynote talk there. And it reminded me about how national parks, public land, also extends and presents great places for dark sky observing as well. Remember Richmond at their Astro Society was saying, oh yeah, we go to these various public parks, not just like parks in the city, but like larger national and state parks to do these sorts of things because they're a huge amount of like place to go. They're open to the public. It's our land as citizens of the United States, and they're dark sky spaces because they're far away from cities generally, or not away from bright city lights, right? If you live in New York City, it's a little bit tough. You're gonna have to go a little ways, which is why I recommend the Hayden Planetarium. It's a great planetarium, one of the greatest. But these are the sorts of things that help get you involved. I bet if you look up New York, Columbia has a bunch of, by the way, Columbia University and NYU both have great astronomy talks. You can see them all over the place, and you can see science talks at Hayden Planetarium as well, which host talks from both Columbia and NYU and outside. But I bet if you like New York City amateur astronomy, if I look this up, Amateur Astronomy Association of New York, AAA.org, pretty classic. They got AAA.org for the Amateur Astronomy Association of New York. So they've got, lectures, galleries, who you are, lots of stuff. But essentially, if you like astronomy, I want you to go from being that person who says, oh, I like astronomy because you read about it on the internet, to I like astronomy because I go outside and I interact with it. I like astronomy because I'm part of Zooniverse and a Galaxy Zoo. I help out with this. I like astronomy because I go to star parties at places. I like astronomy because I have some binoculars and I've got like a backpack that I keep just for when I'm going out to look at the stars. I like astronomy because when I go out camping, I don't just like sit around the fire at night. I go outside away from the fire and let my eyes adjust, bring my camping chair out, and just look at the stars. I like astronomy because I help, and I do. And there's never a bad time to learn astronomy. There's never a bad time to do this and interact with the community and get friends to do this, right? Maybe you have friends who are vaccinated and you're thinking of something to do. Well, get the friend, figure out how far away it would be to get out of the city's lights. If they're like some sort of, place like where I live outside of the town, there's this like place called Kartchner Caverns, which is pretty well outside of the town. It's like a little state area with these beautiful caverns. That's a great parking lot for getting out and seeing some dark skies, right? And it's like a half hour, 45 minutes. Put on a podcast and drive with a friend or a couple friends or a romantic partner or just a romantic partner. Take your dog. Go down there and sit out and look at the stars. It's one of the great cheap things you can do. And it's something that most people do it and they're like, wow, that's cool. But I want you to go, wow, that's cool. And I'm familiar with them because it was only the last 100 years that we stopped being familiar with the stars, and it's a real bummer to me because as we've shown over this year of doing this, they're pretty familiar objects. They're all over the place. They've got names, and they've got names that other cultures gave them as well, and stories that other cultures gave them as well. And the more that you learn them after this year, the more that you've gone out and learned them, the better able you are to see where you are at night. Like, what time is it? How long is time? How much time has passed? Because just looking how it went, right? And the more that you do this is the less that you do this, looking at your phone. Looking at your phone is not nearly as fun as stretching your neck the other way and really enjoying this. And if you don't like stretching your neck, get out, sit in front of, I have spent a lot of time in the spring sitting on my patio. Great place to sit with a drink. And we've got patio chairs, and it's really beautiful to look up at the stars out on our patio. Don't see the faintest stars, but you see enough. And seeing that rhythmic changing of the stars, it reminds me of who it is to be a person and the lineage of humans exploration that we've had. Human exploring and understanding the stars, using them for traveling. It's pretty wonderful. So I'm going to finish up there. If you have any questions, let me know. I apologize if maybe the bitrate was pretty rough. I think that the stream became healthy about a half hour ago. So the first part was, I'm getting stream healthy, error, stream healthy, error, stream healthy, error. But now my bitrate is solid. But I'm bummed that before this it was a little bit rough, and I hope that Kevin Wynn in the chat said that it looked great. So maybe it looked better than it looked on my screen over here. But I really appreciate you watching this. I'll have one more next month, which will kind of wrap things up. We'll do an overview of everything, go through the seasons, and just kind of tie in what we did. But until then, look up and see if there's star parties in the next month. Look up and see if there's, things where you can engage with the community, right? And if you're watching this on YouTube, put a comment if you've gone out and looked at the stars, if you used anything that I've done. I try to pass this around, but I don't do a great job advertising this series, so you can also click like or subscribe, or you could, tell a friend about the YouTube channel. I've got a playlist. If you go to my website, kevinhainline.com or thestarsconnectus.com, you can click on videos and click on the playlist and see all the videos. You can just send that link to your friends and say, hey, I'd love to go stargazing with you. Here's some videos that help me learn to stargaze. But until then, you're all wonderful. It's really nice that you've been watching, especially if you've been watching live. I appreciate it. Have a nice rest of your May. Have a good June. I'll see you next month. Download the star map. I'll make a new star map for June in a couple weeks and put that up, and then I'll make one every month and I have new facts and all that sort of thing. But you all are wonderful, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye. Now I have to do that thing that I always do, but I should probably watch the stream and see if I can see this happening, because I don't want to stop it before. Let's click live stream. Let's refresh this and see if this actually is doing. So what I want to do is I want to see that now I'm just rambling. This is bad. If you're watching this on YouTube, I did not do a good job of streaming this out. Oh yeah, I can stop now. All right, bye everybody.